Hey everyone. Honestly, no, right now, can you all be quiet for a second? God bless autistic fans. They are awesome. I think every single famous person has their own league of fans, depending on how obsessed they are. It's like Dante's Inferno, where every single layer, starting at the top, is bigger but less severe, but the more you go down, the deeper and deeper, it gets smaller, but way more toxic. And that goes for everyone, where it's not really their fault, it's more like a symptom of the toxic fans just being fixated on them. You can see this most often when a streamer does a public event, and you get a scope of the sheer scale of how many fans they can actually gather up. Like the one Kai Cenat one he did in New York, where it could have been a cool event for everyone turning up, if they didn't trash it by the end of the day. I don't know a whole lot about riots, but I can definitely imagine that the devastation they left would be on par with a political riot. And odds are, you already know Kai Cenat. But imagine being a 50-year-old man being in one of those apartments near the area and just seeing all that chaos unfold. You would believe it would be like anarchy. Anarchy. That's why you had news reporters looking in absolute shock because they couldn't believe the aftermath left by just one person. And to be fair, that really is like a prime example of fans being just unhinged, like a name on the top of my head. But actually do a 180, let's talk about IShowSpeed's streaming in Europa. I don't watch him often, or at all actually, but I was surprised to see him streaming there in the continent, like daily, out in public. Which is when I learned and naturally realized that he wants to stay in Germany for a month to watch the Euro Cup. Just to see his favorite little Portuguese man just kicking the ball around. And that was probably the plan initially. But of course, if you're going to Europe, traveling all the way across the Atlantic and getting to the continent, he might as well take advantage of it by doing a couple of IRL streams in countries like Italy, Sweden, Amsterdam, but Netherlands. I'm sorry guys. I wish I could list all the ones he's been to so far, but there's too many and still ongoing. There's no point in me actually listing it off because it'd be outdated. So if you have a basic map of Europe, you can definitely name 5 countries at the top of your head, and he's most likely already been to it. The one country I can say and specify that I liked was Poland, because he saw a little green wizard now walking around with the mystical music. Yeah. But yeah, overall, that's a pretty good idea for streaming in Europe, as well as being, pretty arduous. Traveling across the continent isn't that hard, as long as you have a plan, how you're gonna get to your next country and where you're gonna stay. But with the frequency that Speed is going at to a new place all the time, can't imagine the plan would go through without sticking on time, 24/7, never staying overtime. On the other hand though, I am pretty blown away, all the fans turning up when he arrives at the home country. I always knew IShowSpeed was massive, duh. But in every single country he goes to, there was a flock of fans that don't speak much English, but they still show up to meet him. I'm not sure if his appearances are prompted, he says on stream what he's gonna show up next, but if he doesn't, then well goddamn, that's a pretty big testament how popular he is that people nearby him will always go to him to not miss out on the opportunity. And one country that really shows dedication of his fans, trust me, is a wonderful country, Norway. More specifically, the capital of Oslo, where Speed went to. Now you would think that after the 5th or 10th European country that you've been to, where you had an overall good experience, you could trust that the next one you're going to would be equally as good. But sadly, it seems that this country, Norway, has to be the one country on the list that was destined to be absolute hell. It didn't start off that bad. You get that interaction with fans showing how ecstatic they are to meet him, and I have to admit, I am blown away the number of people waiting to see him. It's definitely not the most I've turned up compared to other countries, but it would be an understatement to say that it wasn't a lot. And it was broadly around here where it really kicked off, going downhill, where Speed injured his ankle, from jumping, and it was bad enough that he couldn't walk by himself. This led to him getting help and having a guy carry him to bring him to the car outside. And when he steps out, Jesus Christ, it's like actual paradise lost with a bunch of people crowded everywhere, pushing past to just touch him barely. You could even see some thin pastrami kid trying to pull on his hair, and that should be the most painful part of the stream, because somehow through the crowd, he somehow has a really firm grasp without letting go. I don't want to sound fucked up, but I legitimately wouldn't be surprised if he came out of it with some injuries on his scalp with how hard he was being pulled by it. On the stream, you can see some liquid sprinkled at him, some cup thrown at Speed, and even though it's impossible to tell what it was, he said himself post-stream that he's certain it was piss. And the smell is a pretty big determining factor they can't sense because you're watching through a fucking camera. I wouldn't put actual piss past his fans to do that when they're already so rabid, but who would have a thing of urine, like a cup of it, ready with them, waiting for someone they're excited to meet? It could have also been a wall ball because with a lot of fans, when they lose the opportunity to shake their hands or pull on the fucking scalp, they try to do something to like make themselves stand out, to have like some abstract connection with the other person. Either way, some liquid was thrown at him, that's known for sure. And another thing that was known for sure was this absolute junkie on top of this car, prepping himself to jump off and land on speed when he's already being carried by other people. You can see this in the other perspective recording, and from the way he's being carried, like splayed out, you can definitely tell he landed legs first directly into his stomach. Again, if I saw someone that I look up to or admire, it would be hard to give like a long-lasting impression of myself to them, but I definitely wouldn't want them to remember me by dropkicking them. And even the part where he goes up to the fan that did that, like full-on yells.
I'm never coming to this fucking country again. Bro, get it, bro, watch this, bro. I don't know who the fuck is gonna be it, bro.
But of course, they're in Norway, they don't speak any English, so they just default like smiling at him, like the kid seeing a mall Santa. That is one thing I realized now, like the issue with like traveling to a lot of places without much planning. You're definitely losing the security to like, meet up with your fans safer because you're always going to the next one, always on top. I mainly say that because of the lack of space the bodyguards had to walk through, with the fans being able to push through and be an arm's length, but also because of those fucking guys like on top of the car, like it was no one's business. So yeah, unfortunately, with a fan meetup that disastrous and a tenth of his hair missing, he didn't leave with the best impression, where you get the whole spiel he had on stream, just basically, you know, being pissed off.
I love all my Norway fans, but bro, y'all generally just don't listen, bro. I don't think I've ever been to a country where they don't listen at all. Nah, bro. Norway, I'm sorry, bro. I don't think I'll ever be back here again.
I've seen like the whole crowd of his fans and how they were. It does make me think of like conventions. And you have fans go up to their favorite YouTuber or streamer, and it would be generally a good experience. And although you did get that with like previous other countries he went to, I don't know why it was Norway, I suppose maybe a different country I missed out as well, they offer like such a piss poor fan interaction. It just ties back to what I said before in the beginning of the video, where if your fans are insanely obsessed with you, they won't treat you like a normal person, they'll treat you like a friend when you barely know them. It sort of reminds me of like iDubbbz, like modern day iDubbbz. Whenever you have like fan meetup, for every like 10 person like fan that had a good interaction, you will have one diet fan that will quote the old stuff and it will just be cringy. Some people are just so tone deaf or socially unaware, they don't recognize when a joke would be funny in their head and when it would be awkward to say out loud. Of course in this story it's a much different case because Speed was hit and insulted like a martyr in a heavily religious country. But that's just my theory I have on why some fans don't have any barriers when they meet like their favorite online creator out in public. Maybe one day I'll write a book about it, but for Speed himself, you know, all I can hope for is that Romania is the next top he goes to, which legitimately would make me happy, I'm not kidding.